well, if it isn't Instant Fusion finally getting what it deserves. Don't be like the 30% of you that have not smashed the ever-living crap out of that subscribe button. Smash it so you guys don't miss out on more Oz content. If this has never set a bigger precedence for what is to come on the TCG side of things, do remember, well, of course, make sure you guys smash the living crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more Oz content. We are knees deep heading into our own ban list season here, and they just cratered some things. A lot of these changes that we're seeing here, we could actually see reflective on the TCG, and you're probably looking at this and you're like, oh, Robbie, they're just cleaning up tier. Yes and no. Instant Fusion finally gets what it had coming to it. To be fair, when Kit Gallos was running around in our side of the game, everybody did one Instant Fusion band, and let's just call it what it is. Like, this card is stupid. All right, this card enables so much unfairness that I understand that finally getting this out of the game is one step in the right direction that many players have been asking for. So yeah, good riddance, actually. King of the Swamp to 1. Well, if it isn't the old Fusion substituter. You do know that based on how things are kind of going right now in Master Duel, I mean, having this be a Fusion sub going forward with a lot of the other stuff that's to come, I mean, this does prove how much Tier Elements has ruined Master Duel. Oh my god, it's so broken. Yeah, saw that coming a mile away, but this is a good pick. Inevitably, as you see our flow chart here, we have this limited to 2 in the TCG, or excuse me, limited to 3 in the TCG, 2 in the OCG. And then we have this at 1 in Master Duel. Now, drop in Rainbow Bridge of Salvation, drop in literally any Tier Elements named card. This card is pretty good, actually, for the utility that it gives to the other decks. And I understand that, yeah, eventually having a Foolish Barrel that can drop spells and traps to the graveyard that interacts with spells and traps, yeah, it probably should start to see a capacity limit at some point. I do like how the OCG was like, we'll start hitting this as a consistency hit. The TCG really hasn't abused it all that much, but as you see here, key cleanup on that. Now, this is the thing that horrifies me the most on this entire list. Change a Heart to 2. Alright, so for all intents and purposes here, we still have Mind Control locked up in a vault somewhere off in the deep confines of the universe over there. But Change of Heart is infinitely better than Mind Control in any sort of capacity, because you can attack, you can use the effects of whatever the opponent's monster is. I have a feeling that their logic for this pushback is we want players to basically play more going second cards. We want to facilitate a usage of, hey, you can take your opponent's monster and you can use it to your own advantage for you to be able to do something with. But handing too many of these take your opponent's monster cards is going to be an issue. And I do think that they're trying to promote more of the include some of these cards in your deck type of thing. You do have to remember, without a side deck functionality, that cards like Change of Heart, which do see play in side decks for sure, definitely do open up a different door. The other big thing is, like, they still have Zeus locked up at, 1 on this side of the game, which definitely makes Change of Heart a little bit less powerful, as if you see the second one, you can't just slap a big old Zeus-a-roo on it to clear up the field. But starting to see this push here, I mean, like Spellbook of Judgment in the past, we already talked about Spellbook of Judgment did in fact move. This is a very dangerous game that Konami's playing here. Double Spellbook of Judgment, I was fine with. It's when you kind of start to push it to 3 that you bump that consistency up through the roof, and that's where you face the exact same thing here, where you see Change of Heart shifting from 2, or actually, I'd be even more impressed if we saw this move to 3 later on in its life, but I don't think that we'll see this go to 3 ever. 2 is, I didn't actually think I'd ever see the time where this moves. So I don't know, I'm very on edge about this, but I mean, this does encourage people to want to craft, right? It's an ultra rare. That's more UR dust that you're gonna have to pump into the game to want to play this, right? That's what you want to see. Kagari to 3 across all 3 formats. This is actually beautiful. I'm actually very happy to see that Sky Striker is getting freed off of its limitations, but this deck doesn't have access to, like, side deck cards. That's the thing that allows Striker to kind of have the chance to handle a lot more of the matchups and allowed it to actually grind a little bit better, but without that functionality of the side deck, which is really, really key to this deck's strategy, at certain points, you're forced to kind of play a very streamlined, bricky build that you got to kind of try to play against things on the ladder. And unfortunately, you know, with the current vortex of hatred that we're seeing here with Tyr, that they're really trying to hold this deck, you know, together and allow people the chance to kind of play it. You know, Kagari moving to 3 doesn't really do all that much as you would really hope that it would. This is just kind of some copium at this point. Thunder Dragon Hawk, this should be a 3 across all formats. I mean, this was a giant issue because the OCG absolutely loved the fact that they could abuse this card for a free shuffle your hand back into the deck, refresh your resources, and what's your opponent supposed to do about that? The answer is not really much. Like, it was just kind of free real estate for this deck. And then, I mean, a free discard to special summon was actually pretty good as well. It's literally as good as a Monster Reborn, but it's archetype specific. Cool. I still don't understand why Tenki is fundamentally semi-limited in the OCG. I understand wanting to clean up, you know, those key cards that do enable, you know, filtering and things like that, but I think that this is too much at the end of the day. Moving this back to 3 is fine. Once again, I just don't understand why it's still locked up. And then the almighty Dark Worm finally moving to 3. You know, my favorite part is this is still limited to 1 in the OCG. They're so afraid to move this card out of the OCG. This card caused so many problems for the Pendulum era that they're just not having it. I perfectly understand why they don't want to deal with this, but free it up just a little bit. You could semi-limit it and start testing it. But if Master Duel is going to prove to you that the card can come back, I think that's fine. Final thoughts on this list. Change of Heart to 2 is incredibly scary. I think that could be a possibility in the future here. Instant Fusion, if you can't touch Kit Gallos yet, you got to go after the next best thing. And, I mean, if you're seeing Instant Fusion removed here, whether or not Kit Gallos is involved or not, yeah, the card should probably, you know, get axed sooner than later. Honestly, it does continue to be a lot of big issues. But, yeah, this is clean up aisle 9 if I've ever seen it for Tyr Elements. So, what do you guys think? Bye, Instant Fusion. You guys have a good rest of your day, all right? Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.